There are moments in life when your hands tremble, your heart feels heavy, and your strength seems to vanish. You've prayed, you've tried, you've fought, but you feel like you're standing on sinking sand. My friend, if that's you today, this message is for you. Because weakness, though it feels like defeat, may be the doorway to your greatest victory. Have you ever wondered why God allows us to feel weak, why the storms seem stronger than our sails, why the burdens outweigh the blessings? It's not because He's forgotten you. It's because He's preparing you. You see, God never measures our worth by our strength. He measures it by our surrender. In a world that tells you to be strong, God whispers, be still. The culture says you can do it all. But heaven says, you can't, and that's why I'm here. Our weakness is not our enemy, it's our teacher. It teaches us where our real power comes from. If you feel weary, don't hide it. If you feel broken, don't deny it. Because it's in the cracks of our humanity that the light of God's power shines through. Let me tell you something. The enemy loves your exhaustion. He loves it when you feel too tired to pray, too discouraged to believe, too afraid to hope. But God never asked you to carry this weight alone. In fact, He designed your weakness as the place where His strength comes alive. When the Apostle Paul said, "When I am weak, then I am strong," he wasn't speaking in riddles. He was declaring a divine truth. Your weakness is not your limitation. It's God's location. That's where He shows up, where He steps in, and where miracles begin to happen. Maybe right now you're asking, how can I go on? You can, but not because of your power, your plan, or your persistence. You can go on because the Spirit that raised Jesus from the grave is alive within you. And that Spirit doesn't know defeat. So if you feel weak today, lean in. Don't turn off this message. Don't walk away thinking this is another motivational talk. This isn't about you pushing harder. It's about you letting God take over. Because the truth is, when you reach the end of yourself, you've just reached the beginning of Him. Listen closely. Weakness is not a dead end. It's a divine detour. It redirects your confidence from your own abilities to the Almighty's authority. It strips away your pride, your plans, and your pressure until all that remains is faith, pure, unshakable faith. And that, my friend, is where miracles are born. Before this message ends, you're going to see your weakness differently. You're going to stop calling it a failure and start calling it a favor, because every time you fall short, God stands tall. Every time you say, I can't, heaven says, I can. So stay with me. Don't miss a word. This isn't a message about how to avoid weakness. It's about how to walk through it and come out stronger than ever before. Because when you understand the purpose behind your pain, your weakness becomes your weapon. And by the time we're finished, you'll no longer say, I'm weak. You'll say, in my weakness, I found His strength. There are times when life presses so hard against your soul that you can barely breathe. You wake up in the morning feeling drained before the day even begins. You look around and everyone else seems strong, confident, and steady. But you're barely holding it together. And in those quiet, aching moments, you begin to wonder, why do I feel so weak? Why can't I just be stronger? But listen, your weakness is not a mark of failure. It's an invitation. It's God whispering, come closer to me. Let me be your strength. Because the truth is, the times you feel the most powerless are often the moments God is preparing to show His power in you. We live in a world that celebrates independence. The louder you shout, the stronger you appear. But in the kingdom of God, strength looks different. It's not about how much you can carry. It's about who you lean on when you can't carry anymore. You see, the feeling of weakness is heaven's gentle reminder that you were never meant to live life on your own strength. When everything feels like it's slipping through your fingers, that's when God begins to take hold. He doesn't wait for you to get it all together. He meets you right where you are, trembling and tired, and says, my grace is enough for you. Sometimes, What you call a breakdown is really a breakthrough in disguise. Because the very moment you stop pretending to be strong enough, you create space for divine strength to flow in. You stop performing and start depending. You stop trying to prove yourself and start trusting the one who already proved his love on the cross. So if you feel weak today, don't let shame silence you. Don't let fear convince you that you're disqualified. Weakness doesn't push you away from God. It pulls you closer. Every tear, every sigh, every weary prayer is an invitation to step deeper into his presence. Your weakness is not the end of your story. It's the doorway to a greater one. It's the sacred place where your human limitation meets divine possibility. And when you finally realize that, you'll stop asking, "Why am I weak?" and start saying, "Thank you, Lord, for showing me where your strength begins." Have you ever reached that point where you've done everything you know to do, prayed every prayer, fought every battle, tried every plan, and still it feels like nothing's working? You tell yourself to stay strong, but deep inside you're running on fumes. You smile in front of people, but when the lights go out, you feel empty. And you wonder, where is my strength? Why can't I seem to stand anymore? Listen carefully. True strength isn't found in standing tall on your own. It's found in kneeling before the one who never falls. Power isn't proven by how long you can hold on. It's revealed by who you hold on to when you have nothing left. You see, human strength has limits, but divine strength begins where yours runs out. That's the mystery of faith. It takes weakness and transforms it into power. When God said, "My power is made perfect in weakness," he wasn't giving you a poetic line to comfort you in the storm. He was declaring a spiritual law: the less of you, the more of him. The smaller you feel, the greater he shows himself to be. The cracks in your life, the ones you try to hide, those are the very openings through which his glory shines. Sometimes God allows your strength to fail so you'll finally discover that his never does. He lets you come to the end of yourself so you'll realize you were never the source of your own power. He lets your confidence crumble so your faith can rise. Because as long as you're holding on to your own strength, you'll never know what it feels like to be carried by his. Maybe right now you feel like you're falling apart. But could it be that you're falling right into his hands? Could it be that the weakness you despise is the very thing positioning you for a greater display of power than you've ever seen before? You don't have to fight harder. You just have to trust deeper. The moment you surrender your weakness to God is the moment his strength takes center stage. And when that happens, your story changes. You stop saying, "I can't take it anymore," and you start declaring, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And when you begin to see that, something powerful happens inside you. You start to understand that weakness isn't just a season to survive. It's a sacred process that reshapes your heart. Because in the moments when you're broken, God isn't punishing you. He's purifying you. He's removing every false source of strength you've leaned on, every idol of self-reliance you didn't even know you had. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold everything together, our plans, our image, our control. But sometimes God allows what you've built to crack, not because he wants to destroy you, but because he wants to rebuild you stronger, deeper, and truer than before. Brokenness exposes what comfort hides. When everything's easy, we convince ourselves we're doing just fine. But when life hits hard, that's when we discover what we've really been trusting in. If your heart has ever been shattered, you know what I mean. When dreams collapse, when relationships fall apart, when prayers seem unanswered, that's when you finally realize that your strength was never enough to sustain you. Yet in that revelation lies a hidden blessing. Because brokenness brings honesty. It strips away the illusion of control and drives you to your knees, where you find the one who never leaves. God's greatest work is often done with broken pieces. He takes what the world calls useless and turns it into something beautiful. Just ask the potter who reshapes the clay. He doesn't discard what's marred. He refashions it with greater care. And maybe that's what God is doing in you right now. Maybe the pressure, the pain, the weakness, it's not meant to crush you, but to shape you into the image of His strength. The blessing of brokenness is that it teaches you dependence. It teaches you grace. It teaches you that the very thing you thought disqualified you is the thing that God uses to qualify you. You begin to see that your scars aren't signs of defeat. They're the evidence of survival, of redemption, of divine restoration. And when you reach that point, you stop resenting your weakness and start thanking God for the way He turns your breaking into blessing. And when you start thanking Him for that, something shifts inside your spirit. You begin to realize that every moment you said, I can't, heaven was already whispering, I can. Because the truth is, when you reach the limit of your ability, you have not reached the end, you've reached the beginning of His. The turning point of every believer's life comes when you finally stop trying to be your own source of strength and start trusting the one whose power never runs dry. You see, we spend so much energy trying to fix what only God can heal. We try to climb mountains that were never meant to be conquered by human effort. But when you finally say, Lord, I can't do this on my own, that's when He says, good, now watch what I can do. Because weakness doesn't drive Him away, it draws Him near. He's not disappointed in your inability. He delights in your dependence. There's a moment in every life when faith has to become more than words. It has to become trust. When you look at the impossible and still choose to believe that God is able, that's when heaven moves. The same hands that shape the stars are the hands that hold you right now. The same voice that calmed the sea is the voice that speaks peace into your storm. So, when you can't take another step, remember, He never asked you to walk alone. Maybe today you're facing something too big for you. Maybe you've tried to fix it, fight it, or forget it, and nothing's worked. You're tired, worn out, ready to quit. But hear this, your I can't is the cue for His I will. God does His greatest work when we are at our weakest point. He takes over where our strength stops. And once you experience that, you'll never look at weakness the same way again. So stop trying to hold it all together. Let go of the illusion that you have to be strong all the time. Lean into His grace, because when you say, I can't, you're not giving up. You're giving in to a greater power, a higher purpose, and a love that never fails. That's when the impossible begins to bow before the one who can. And when the impossible begins to bow, that's when faith truly comes alive. That's when you realize this battle you've been fighting was never meant to be won by might or by power, but by the Spirit of the living God who dwells within you. The same Spirit that spoke light into darkness, the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead, that Spirit lives inside you right now. And if that's true, then weakness no longer defines you. The Spirit within you does. You may look at your life and see nothing but fragments, moments of failure, seasons of doubt, times when you almost gave up. But God looks at you and sees potential, purpose, and promise. Because He knows that when His Spirit moves, everything changes. The valley of dry bones becomes an army. The broken heart becomes a testimony. The weary soul becomes a warrior clothed in grace. There's something supernatural that happens when you stop striving in your own strength and start relying on His Spirit. It's like the wind, unseen, unstoppable, undeniable. You don't control where it goes, but you can feel its power lifting you, carrying you, renewing you. And suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Because when the Spirit of God fills your weakness, defeat loses its voice. You may not have the energy to fight anymore, but the Spirit within you isn't tired. You may not see a way out, but the Spirit within you has already made one. That's why you can stand even when you feel broken, smile even when it hurts, and move forward even when the weight seems too much to bear. It's not your strength keeping you together. It's His power working through you. So when life knocks you down, don't stay there. Rise again. Not by willpower, not by sheer determination, but by the Spirit that refuses to let you stay defeated. The same power that rolled away the stones still rolls away the barriers in your life. And every time you rise again, heaven rejoices, because that's the sound of faith standing firm, of grace overcoming, of God's Spirit proving once more that weakness is never the end. It's where resurrection begins.